Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. At Acasis, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit Acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. From gourmet snacks to unique finds, each box is tailored to your taste. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.
Yes, hello and welcome. It is the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network, and you guys don't need to be looking up at me. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week, talking nothing but Boston sports right here on YouTube, live at high noon Eastern, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Today, we're talking Patriots and Mike Vrabel's new initiative to get rid of everything that Bill Belichick and Jerod Mayo touched. Of course, that's a good thing. Plus, we will also talk about Rafi Devers. Is he being a bad teammate by not helping out the Red Sox and learning how to play first base? And also, in the NBA, is home court advantage done? And what does that mean for the Celtics and what feels like a must-win Game 2 against the Knicks tonight? All that and more coming up on this Wednesday edition, Hump Day edition of the Cam Show. I do want to start with the Patriots. We haven't talked about the Patriots in a few days, which is a record for this show. But it is the Mike Vrabel era, as we all know, and I think it's going to be tough to judge how this Vrabel era is until like probably the end of the first season, if not like the middle of the second season. Because the reason I say that is because there's an absolute mess in Foxborough, a mess that he inherited. And Ben Volin, Trollin Volin, wrote the article in the Globe about Mike Vrabel's first initiatives as the Patriots head coach. Ben Trollin Volin puts this article out there basically saying that the Patriots under Mike Vrabel are liquidating assets. They're getting rid of everything that was touched by Bill Belichick and or Jerod Mayo and getting it out of one Patriot place. And I don't often say this when talking about Ben Volin articles, but good. Because the article has kind of this whiny tone of like, oh, the guy comes in here and he can get rid of everybody. You know, everybody that's won a Super Bowl for the Patriots. Joe Cardona was the last one. He was cut a few days ago after they drafted the Ashby kid, the long snapper. Obviously, they kind of gave David Andrews the walk-in orders, got him out the door. Now the most tenured player on the team is Kyle Duggar. Nobody played with Tom Brady on this whole team. Nobody has a Super Bowl ring with this team. That era is completely gone. It's done. And again, in the article, they talk about, here it is. The team's totally different. There's nobody that won the Super Bowl with the Patriots. 5 of their 6 captains from week 1 last year are gone. And I think every Patriots fan reading this is not sympathetic towards that. In fact, they're probably saying, they've won 8 games in 2 years. Who did you want to keep? I was saying this last year when Jerod Mayo came in and Elliott Wolf kind of fully took the reins and they start extending guys. We're like, really? The Patriots just bottomed out their worst year in 30 years? You fired the greatest coach in the history of this sport? And you're going to keep the guys on the team? Like, you're going to use your free agency to extend the guys that the boogeyman drafted and developed for a team that they ran into the ground? That didn't make a lot of sense at the time, and it doesn't make much more sense a year later, right? For Ramondre Stevenson and Kyle Duggar and all these other guys. I mean, I'll give a pass to Christian Barmore. If he's healthy, I think he's going to be a good player for them. Jabril Peppers, who ends up in prison during the season. It was an absolute mess for the second year in a row. And I've got these articles being like, oh, look at that. Look, I'm just saying, Mike Vrabel's getting rid of everybody. This is why we wanted Mike Vrabel here. We wanted him to clean house. We wanted it to be a fire sale, a liquidation of assets. There's nothing over the last 2 years with the Patriots, other than the rise of Drake May and Christian Gonzalez, that you would say, I want to keep that thing going. It's almost like, what did you guys expect? Outside of the 8 wins in 2 years, Mike Vrabel came in here and says, we're going to get rid of entitlement. Do you think there's not a lot of entitlement? Do you think there's a lot of accountability in a locker room that's won 8 games in 2 seasons? I don't think so. I don't even think the writing was on the wall. The writing was right there in front of you. He said it to you. I'm going to get rid of entitlement here. And I'm not saying Joe Cardona was entitled by any means, but they need, to use a term famous in American politics in this generation, they needed to drain the swamp. That's what they needed to do in Foxborough, and they're doing it. And that's why it's probably still a bit naive for people to be thinking that they're going to be, oh, they got Stephon Diggs with Drake May. They're going to be a playoff team, or they're going to be close to a playoff team this year. This is going to take a lot of patience, Patriots fans. I know we've exhibited it the last few years, and the patience is wearing thin from what we've seen in this organization in the last few years. But this is going to take some time. It's not unlike what Belichick was doing at the beginning of his tenure. Right? He takes over for this rah-rah, happy-go-lucky coach who probably didn't have a full grasp on what he was doing being a head coach in the NFL. Just like Mike Vrabel has with Jerod Mayo. Pete Carroll was a little bit more distinguished, I guess, than Jerod Mayo. But what Belichick needed to do in that first year was weed out the guys who could stay. And he found a heck of a core, that Parcells core that we've talked about. Ty Law, Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis, Ted Johnson, some of those guys. But he needed to weed out the guys who were either on their last legs or weren't going to be able to handle it. And through the first year and a half, he did that. Guys like Terry Glenn and Chris Slade and, Ben Coates and Bruce Armstrong coming to the end of their careers, forcing out Bruce Armstrong, one of the all-time Patriots greats. And he goes 5-11, year one. In year two, they win the Super Bowl. It was miraculous, but everyone could see in 2001 that even if they didn't win the Super Bowl, that the pieces were coming into place. With Brady and with, I don't know, even some of these short-term guys like Brian Cox, Joe Andruzzi, Damian Woody. There were more pieces there for the Patriots to work with. That's what Mike Vrabel's looking at here. And people were pissed off at Belichick after he went 5-11. They said, this guy's not a winning coach, and he just proved to you why. They're not going to win 10 games this year. They're not. To have a 3 or 4 win improvement and get to 7 or 8 wins is a nice improvement. If you get to 8 wins and you're a game under 500 and you've doubled your win output from last year, in fact, you've equaled your win output of the last 2 years, that can only be seen as improvement. Can only be seen as improvement. So I don't love the kind of condescending tone of, oh, well, look, they got rid of, all I'm saying is they got rid of all the guys who played and won a Super Bowl with the Patriots. It's like, yeah, great. They weren't going to win another one here. Okay? The reason they won Super Bowls was because of Brady. And it's just some of these quotes in here. So Volin writes, when Brissett, Jones, and Wise weren't re-signed, you could argue it was about football. Of course it was about football. Like Dietrich Wise, Jacoby Brissett, Jonathan Jones might have had something left. But what are we talking about? These are, 8, 9, 10-year vets. In the case of Jacoby Brissett, a Jag. Never really a starter in this league. Dietrich Wise and Jonathan Jones, you want to say his best days are behind him? Of course they are. Of course they are, man. And then he basically explains why it is, a good move. Like, you could argue it was about football. Brissett was only brought in last year to be a backup and was a favorite of the previous staff, Alex Van Pelt guy. Wise was never a big sack producer and probably doesn't fit the Patriots' new scheme. But all three quickly found jobs. What does that prove? How does that prove anything? You just said they're not productive, but they found another spot in the NFL. Yep, Jacoby Brissett found a job to be a backup. Dietrich Wise is probably a depth guy for the Commanders, and Jonathan Jones is like the 4th or 5th corner on the Commanders. Great. They were Jags at the end of their time in New England, and they're Jags somewhere else. I don't get it. I don't get it. And then he argues, the only argument I think you have is David Andrews, because you had a need at that position. You went up and drafted a center anyway from Georgia. like Andrews was. But it looked like David Andrews still wanted to play. I guess you could make an argument for that and having a couple young guys on the offensive line. But to peddle this crap of like, oh, these guys were there when Dante Hightower was in the room and Brady was in the room and Julian Edelman and Gronk were in the room. These guys can tell you how to work. It's like, how did that fucking work the last 2 years? Was David Andrews telling guys how to work? Matthew Slater, Jonathan Jones, Dietrich Wise, Jacoby Brissett. You think he was really imparting a ton of wisdom on, hey, here's how we did it when we won Super Bowls? Shit, man. The head coach was a guy who had only played for Belichick, who played his whole career with Brady, who had a Super Bowl ring, who was in the midst of this Patriots dynasty, the head coach. And that didn't do anything. So why are we sitting here bitching about how these Super Bowl winning players are gone? How can they impart any kind of wisdom? I don't know. You brought in a pretty good player who just won the Super Bowl 3 months ago, but he didn't win it with Belichick and Brady. So how can Milton Williams be a leader on this team? It's total crap, man. It's total crap. And that's not to say I don't want guys in the locker room who have been there and won before. But like, Mike Vrabel's won Super Bowls. Mike Vrabel played for Belichick. Mike Vrabel played with Brady. But we're just discounting that because he's not Joe Cardona? I don't understand kind of the tone of this article, because when I clicked on it, I was thinking, oh, this is good. He should be getting rid of people. He should be bringing in a new regime. Like this is what happens, by the way, in the NFL. But you've got this aging team, and now I've got a beat writer saying, oh, this could get worse. They got rid of the long snapper. He's been here 10 years. Did I mention he went to the Naval Academy? Who gives a shit, man? Who cares? In fact, good on Mike Vrabel. This is how it should be. Like, what part of the last 2, or dare I say even 3 seasons, or whatever, 4 of the last 5 seasons, what part of that experience made you think, I really hope they keep these players. Really hope they keep this core locked down in there. Like, how does it make any sense? You've already put yourself in a position with having a second coach and second offensive coordinator in Drake May's second season that you're probably not building a championship team when he's on his rookie contract. You're probably not doing that. So to stunt the growth of Drake May, first off, I don't even really think you're doing that, but you essentially punted a year, right? He went and learned the NFL game under a different guy's system. And now that guy's gone. Like you've lost that year. I mean, he's progressed into an NFL quarterback, but you've lost that year towards building yourself into being a contender. You lost that year on his contract. So having that knowledge already, why aren't you just getting rid of as much as possible? Why aren't you trimming as much fat as humanly possible? And I think that's what the Patriots are doing. I think it's a good thing. It was bizarre when they re-signed some of the core guys from an awful team in 2023. I think the only solution, well, I mean, they've hit a lot of the solutions. The only other solution for Mike Vrabel when he's in here is to keep getting rid of them. He's got his own style. He's already started to bring in some of his own guys, with Landry being the big one, Harold Landry. He's brought in, new guys on the defensive staff that were also his guys, his player personnel guys. That's what you sign up for when you go and get Mike Vrabel. You want the adult in the room? He's going to do adult things. He's going to cut guys. He's going to put a new roster together. The old one wasn't working. In any other business, you'd be like, yeah, this is how it should be. No, production is not there. We need to get new people in there. But Joe Cardona snapped a ball to a field goal kicker that was kicking for a drive that Tom Brady started. So we've got to have him in the room. He had a locker 300 feet away from Tom Brady's locker. So got to keep him around. And he heard Matthew Slater break it down after the games. So you've got to have that continuity. I just think it's bullshit, man. The Patriots should be a completely new look team. That's what we should crave in New England right now. That's what we should want by any means necessary. Want a brand new team in there. At least that's what I think. And yeah, it is funny that your captain situation got totally blown up. And Volin does mention in here, by the way, one last kind of note on it. He does mention that there's some guys who are veterans on this team, but are probably on borrowed time. Jabril Peppers and 2 captains named midseason, that's Hunter Henry and Kyle Duggar, are still with the Patriots, but they shouldn't get too comfortable. All 3 are probably still here only because their contracts are close to fully guaranteed in 2025. Yep, that's why. So yes, Mike Vrabel is erasing the end of Bill Belichick's legacy with the New England Patriots, but the end of Bill Belichick's legacy with the New England Patriots sucked. 2023 was awful. The last couple of drafts, terrible. And I'm fully on board with wiping away anything Jerod Mayo did outside of Drake May and Christian Gonzalez. Anything. And so all the coaches that were here are gone. Most of the players that were seen as core guys under, the last 2 years between Belichick and Mayo and Elliott Wolf are leaving or gone or are on borrowed time here. That's what this should be. The turn of the century, it worked out pretty well. I'm not saying Mike Vrabel is going to win 6 Super Bowls, but this is how it starts. So let me know what you think. Is Mike Vrabel doing the right thing by cleaning out the end of the Bill Belichick era and completely putting that behind them? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, and it helps me keep my job and avoids me doing a real job. But let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. We go live on YouTube, high noon Eastern time every weekday, and then wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the other videos on the YouTube channel here. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. I can't believe people are somewhat up in arms about oh man, how could he cut Joe Cardona? I love Joe Cardona, man. He seems like a really nice guy. He's got a couple Super Bowl rings, but we are talking about the long snapper here, okay? You can get another one. I'm sure people were really pissy when Lonnie Paxton was forced out. They got another one. And then another one. And they continued to win Super Bowls. Feel for him, but come on, guys. This is exactly what Mike Vrabel should be doing. He should be cleaning out. Imagine thinking that way about any other dog shit team in this league and being like, no, they need to keep some guys on board. It was weird they kept guys on board after 23. You fired the best coach in the history of football, the guy who made your franchise. Why would you keep those guys on after a 4-3? If it was bad enough to fire Belichick, why was it not bad enough to fire Jabril Peppers or Ramondre Stevenson or Kyle Duggar? You know what it just didn't make any sense. Or Dietrich Wise. Or Joe Cardona, or any of these guys that are gone now after this next year. You know what I mean? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But then again, not a lot does here on the Cam Show. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the Red Sox. And this reeks a little bit of the end of the Nomar tenure in Boston. Is Rafi Devers being a bad teammate? That's next on the Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Welcome to Kit Bag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kit Bag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kit Bag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's KITBAG.com. Kit Bag. For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us on our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com. Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Since 2003, we've been connecting buyers and sellers, providing access to sold-out events at prices lower than most secondary market options. Whether it's sports, theater, or concerts, our massive nationwide network ensures you get the tickets you want, guaranteed. For the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. That's TICKETLIQUIDATOR.com. Ticket Liquidator.
I'm Hunter, the founder of Hello Cake, and today we're digging into ED meds. The number one thing we hear is that guys are sick of waiting for ED meds to kick in. Traditional ED meds take about an hour to kick in as they have to go through your digestive system, where Hello Cake's ED medication dissolves under your tongue and works in about 15 minutes. That's about 3 times faster than traditional ED medication. Curious about ED meds? Go to hellocake.com.
And now, back to our show.
Back to our show that is the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. We talked a lot of Patriots in that first segment, the fire sale going on, and that's why that's a good thing. I can't believe there are Patriots fans out there thinking that's not a good thing. I'll tell you what's not a good thing. The Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox are entering crisis mode here in the first week in May, which is crazy with all the good faith they built right before the start of this season with the Crochet move and the Bregman move and how great these prospects look. And it looked like a playoff team. And right now they're still only in second in the AL East, but they sit at 18-19 on the season. They have played 6 games this year against teams over 500. And they will probably have one of those again tomorrow because the Rangers are now 500 after beating you last night. And the problems go deeper than the record, of course. You know, their bullpen is awful, and they've got no one that's major league level that can play first base, allegedly. Tristan Casas out for the season. He's not walking through that door. And the whole last 5 days now, it's been a debate around anybody covering this team, watching this team, on this team, on who is going to step in and play first base. Is it going to be Christian Campbell? Is it going to be Vaughn Grissom? Are you going to roll with Abraham Toro and Romy Gonzalez? Are you going to turn one of your top 5 prospects in baseball, into a first baseman so that they can make their major league debut? And yet this whole time, you've had a big-time slugger on your roster who was, let's face it, arguably too tubby to play third base. That's why he wasn't an effective third baseman. Played the corner infield. Bregman gets signed. This guy gets moved to DH. And as soon as the first base thing comes up, Alex Cora says everyone's available for first base except Rafi Devers. Rafi's not going to do it. We're not going to force that on him. We told him to throw his glove away. Really? Like, because we were all on board with Rafi becoming the DH. Lord knows I did plenty of segments on it. There was no world where he should have been playing third base over Alex Bregman. But the guy has been out of the field for a month, and we can't try him at first base. It's almost like we're not understanding how dire this is. You don't have a replacement level major league hitting first baseman for the rest of the season as it stands right now. And there's a better likelihood of them trading for some jag, some Garrett Cooper type of jag, than just putting Rafi Devers at first base. He doesn't even need the range that he had at third. We're not even going to try it. I don't understand this. And now this is leading to derision amongst Red Sox Nation for what should be, and some would still argue is, the face of the franchise. Matt McCarthy of 98.5 put out this tweet. So Matt McCarthy he knows the stuff when it comes to baseball, but he's very much of the let's try to become Felger and Maz kind of crowd at 98.5. He was the one who was saying, Tatum was so soft after he missed one game in the NBA playoffs. He's that guy. So take that however you will. But I think he makes a good point here. He says, I think the Red Sox have considered putting Devers at first base dating back to at least sometime last year. I think that's probably accurate. We heard some rumblings about it last year. You knew after that long-term contract, he was not going to live the life of the contract being a third baseman. Okay. It seems that Devers didn't want to. There's only one conclusion, especially after the third base drama this spring training. Devers isn't a team player. Do you think Mookie Betts would move to help his team? How about Bogarts? I bet you Bregman would play first base tomorrow if the Sox asked him, but we can't ask Raffy? It's ridiculous. I guess we just have to keep Anthony in Worcester because we shouldn't dare ask Devers to help the team. I don't know if he can actually play first, but there's absolutely no harm in trying. Given the situation they're in, the whole thing is absurd. I agree with most of the points here. First off, the Xander Bogaerts one falls on deaf ears because he did refuse to play another position. We kind of compared it, actually, this year with Devers playing third and Bregman coming in and Gold Glover playing third base. Xander Bogaerts is not a stellar defensive shortstop, and he really never was. And they brought in a big contract for Trevor Story, who had won a Gold Glove at shortstop, and it was Story playing second base. So the Bogaerts thing, that's incorrect. He did refuse to play a position that would have better suited the team. But Mookie Betts came up as an infielder and converts to outfield because that's where the team needed him, short-term and then long-term. And he became a platinum glove winning outfielder and one of the best defensive outfielders in all of baseball. That started because the team needed him to do it. And I don't have anything to prove this, but I do think Alex Bregman would do that. I think Alex Bregman was ready to play second base because it was what's good for the team. And the whole thing with this Devers thing, we don't know. Maybe it's coming from Cora. Who knows? But it makes him look like a baby. Or it makes the Red Sox look like they're babying him. This guy's the face of the franchise. And he's not willing to do what it takes for the team to win. Because, McCarthy mentions Bogaerts, Betts, and Bregman there. I'll give you one more name. If it ever came down to this, I think David Ortiz would have played some first base. Shit, Hanley Ramirez played first base. Hanley Ramirez! Guy didn't give a shit about anything. He played first base. He learned it. Played a whole season there. Ortiz would have done it in a pinch. Maybe not for a whole season, but that's from different issues. Devers has more range than Ortiz did. So it does make Devers and the Red Sox look pretty bad here. Again, because this is a guy who bitched about having to go to DH, and now he's not going to move off of DH to get back in the field? Come on, man. That's not face of the franchise kind of stuff. And this is the poster child, the franchise, and the only one who's actually won a World Series with you that's still on the team 7 years later. And yet he's not willing to sacrifice what's good for the team here? To me, that's like, okay, then what's the point of him being in the locker room as a guy who won the World Series with his team if he's not willing to sacrifice and help the team out? Bregman's won 2 World Series. I think he would do that in a heartbeat. I guess I can't prove that. But this is an absolute mess. An absolute mess right now. The team is losing games. Their bullpen is awful. They have the most one-run losses in the league. They got blown out yesterday. Great text from my dad in the middle of the game. It was his birthday. He was totally fed up. He texts me. He goes, bottom of the 5th inning, and the Red Sox already have a hit. If they get a touchdown and the extra point is good, then they'll actually take the lead. Like, it's frustrating, man. They keep losing series. They haven't even gotten to the brunt of their schedule yet. They haven't played the Yankees yet. You know, they haven't been challenged, and they look challenged. They look really challenged. And outside of first base, because that's the biggest issue, that in the bullpen, I'm looking at Ceddanne Rafaela take steps back. I'm looking at Trevor Story being awful again, right back to just being a guy who can't hit fastballs. In fact, I'll even go a little deeper on that. Trevor Story, 6 for his last 50. That's a 120 average, which is, pretty good at bowling if you're Chaw. 6 for 50, 120 average, 19 strikeouts in his last 12 games. Marcelo Meyer ripping it up, coming off an injury, but ripping it up. Roman Anthony's like the best minor league hitter in the history of baseball. And we got to sit here and watch these guys get at bats. Ceddanne Rafaela and Trevor Story just continue to bring this team down while you have no first baseman. Friend of the program, Liam Fennessy. Red Sox are 455 and 452 since winning the World Series in 2018. Mid. At best, mid. And here we are watching Trevor Story and Ceddanne Rafaela try. It's sad. It's pathetic. And we're just sitting here watching them try every night. It's even turned the biggest homers, Jerod Carrabis, who is a heck of a homer, obviously, but he does know his stuff. I think he puts it perfectly here in this tweet. I have to admit it. It's very hard to get fully emotionally invested in this Red Sox team when I know they're intentionally not putting the best team on the field that they could possibly be putting out there. The front office is kind of getting what they deserve here. Couldn't have said it any better. That's the underlying thing with this Red Sox team. And it's still early in the season. But you're watching some of these guys just fail day after day after day with no banked credit. Like Ceddanne Rafaela had his moments last year. But this is not like Xander Bogaerts struggling in his second year and he's a stud. Trevor Story, also sucking, has not been very productive in 3 years, most of it due to injury, albeit, but not been productive and wrong side of 30. Like, when you just think Trevor Story magically turns that around and he has, his 2018 form back? We're living in a fantasy world if we're thinking that those two guys are going to become all-stars again. Meanwhile, you have future all-stars ready to play those positions. Move Duran to center. Roman Anthony goes in left. Marcelo Meyer plays shortstop. Trevor Story, maybe you try to play first base. You're a Gold Glover in the infield. Maybe you try to play first base. But this is ridiculous to watch every night. It's bad enough that the bullpen absolutely sucks and can't hold a lead, although they held a 6-0 deficit pretty well last night. But that is the epitome of what this has been so far. You've got all these holes in the team, and you've got the solutions, but they just don't want to do it yet. Whether it's service time or we want these guys to walk more or whatever the fuck it is, your two or your three best players in the pipeline are still in Worcester. And there's major holes on Boston. It's not like these guys are in high A and you can't rush them up. They're in Worcester. They were in Worcester last year for the back half of last year. They looked pretty good in spring training. They're too good for AAA right now. And even with all the crap going on at the major league level, you don't think they're good enough for that? You don't think it's good enough to give them a shot here? I'm not saying make Roman Anthony a first baseman, but there are ways you can get them onto this team. Can Masa Yoshida play first base? He can swing a bat, no problem, but the first friggin' throw he has, he's, oh no, I'm done. It went to my shoulder. He can swing a bat, but he can't throw a baseball. Good, Masa. We'll put you in a position where you don't even need to throw it. You just roll it back to the mound after the third out. Can he do that? Can he do anything? Can he give you anything on your major league roster? because David Hamilton doesn't, yet he plays almost every day. Cedon Rafaela doesn't, he plays every day. Trevor Story doesn't, he plays every day. You're in a better position with the Red Sox if you can't give them anything than if you can. Because Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer can. And yet they're just rotting away in Worcester as this team continues to sink. And they're about to start playing some good teams. About to start. In fact, Texas, I think, is a good team. But they haven't hit their stride yet either. They made it look pretty easy against you. It's a really frustrating team to watch. And I am very surprised that it happened this quickly. I was a big believer in this team going into this season. I thought they had turned a corner after about week 2 or 3. But they're just mid, man. I mean, literally look at that. The last 7 years, they're barely treading water. They're a game under 500 right now. And sometimes in baseball, you see that early in the season and you're like, no, this is still a good team. This is still a 93, 94 win team. But the way it looks right now, this looks like an 81 win team. Again, just mid as hell. That's what they look like. Wouldn't stun me at all if you told me right now that they're going to finish the season 81-81. And just continue to spin the wheels, tread water, whatever you want to call it. If they go 81-81 and Alex Bregman hits 30 homers and opts out, you're just right back to where you were. You're right back there. Especially if you're not going to give these kids a shot. That's what's really frustrating. And I don't know if that's a Cora thing or if it's a Breslow thing. I imagine it's a Breslow thing. But when are you going to give these guys a shot? How much more of this shit do we need to watch? When you had such high expectations going into this year, how much more mid-baseball do we need to watch until you get these kids up here? That's the question to me. If you have the answer, let me know. When do you want to see Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer up there? Who's the solution at first base? And is Rafi Devers a bad teammate? Because this isn't the first time we've had to pose that question in the last 2 months for a guy who's the face of your franchise, refusing to play a position. He wants to play in the field. You begrudgingly move him to DH. A month into the season, they need some help in the field, and he won't do it. Sounds like a bad teammate to me. I know McCarthy's trying to be, Diet Felger, but I think he's right. Sounds like a bad teammate to me. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It is absolutely free, and it keeps you up to date on everything going on in Boston sports 5 days a week, live on YouTube, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Check out the other videos on the channel and find us here. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. We've talked Patriots. We've talked Red Sox. I guess we got to talk some Celtics and some greater NBA, because there's a trend happening in the NBA right now that could change the way we see the league forever. That's coming up next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Maud Lily is your go-to for stylish and affordable fashion that fits your life. Whether you're looking for the perfect swimsuit for a beach day, a chic dress for a night out, or cozy tops for everyday wear, Maud Lily has it all. Their extensive collection of swimwear, including bikinis, tankinis, and one-pieces, always keeps you on trend, while their dresses and tops come in flattering styles for every occasion. Visit maudlily.com today.
Natural Cycles identifies your fertile window by analyzing changes in your temperature. It's the first FDA-cleared birth control app. No hormones, no side effects, and 93% effective with typical use, and 98% effective with perfect use. Just measure in the morning, add your temperature into the app, then learn which days you can and cannot get pregnant. It's that easy. Learn more at naturalcycles.com.
A house is a property, but we live in homes. Home sweet home. Homes where the heart is. Home. There's no place like it. Homes are filled with memories and emotions. OfferPad knows this is your home, not your house. That's why we do what we do. Every day, we aim to deliver the best home buying and selling experience so you can spend less time real estating and more time living.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
It's the Cam Show. It's Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. We're here 5 days a week, live on YouTube, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. The Celtics, game 2 tonight. Must win. It feels like a must win. Absolutely. You absolutely blew it in game 1. 15 of 60 from 3, 19 of your 20 shots in the third quarter were three-pointers. It was embarrassing. I expect the Celtics to take the ball to the basket a little bit. This is where I need the ghost of Tommy Heinsohn. You know, Tommy obviously kind of hung it up pretty early in the Curry three-point barrage era. But if I had a nickel for every time, like things just weren't going well, and Tommy just go, take it to the basket. Just yelling on the podcast. Take it to the basket. Come on. Oh, man. That's what they need tonight. Instead, you get a team that takes 63s a game, and sometimes you have broadcasters for the home team that don't even know who Tommy Heinsohn is. That's where it's at. But the Celtics need to win this game, too. Not that they couldn't come down from or back from down 2-0, but to just punt 2 games in the playoffs is like you're not fooling anybody. I don't know what that challenge is or whatever, but it would suck. They absolutely should have won that game in game 1. It goes to show that it needed overtime and a 3-point loss for as statistically bad as the Celtics were for them to lose. So that should be a good sign, I guess. And making 7 out of 30 open threes or whatever the hell it was awful. But it's kind of part of a trend of this round, by the way. The bad 3-point shooting. Minnesota had it too. You think the Celtics were bad in game 1. Minnesota's last 2 games, they're shooting like 14% from 3. And the Celtics would need to go over 36 tonight to equal that 2-game stretch that the Timberwolves are on right now. But there is a concerning trend for Celtics fans tonight. And this is where I want to bring in Zach Burke of the Rogue Media Sports Network, the guy who does keep us on the air 5 days a week, live on YouTube, and also wherever you get your podcasts. So I would love to bring Zach into here. Zach, can you hear me? Your mic's muted.
I was waiting to unmute it before I talked to you. I got you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you.
Sweet. It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
I'm not going to be like Pete every time I come on and be like, when are you going to be on my show? So
yeah. And then he's suddenly got a softball tournament. Can't be on my show. No big. Whatever. Zach, I wanted to bring you in here for this because the Celtics have a critical game 2 tonight. And I know you've been breaking down Celtics game film. You're way into this. You're ready to give me the solutions. But the thing that's wild is this is the first time in NBA history that in the second round, all 4 road teams have won game 1 and have snatched home court advantage. Mm-hmm. And I know you've been watching this league a long time. I think the NBA, maybe more than any other sport, I guess football because it's a one-off game.
Yeah.
Home advantage really matters.
Absolutely.
It helps you with calls. It helps role players. It really should help.
Mm-hmm.
And yet here we are. All four obviously favorites and home teams are down 1-0 in their series.
Mm-hmm.
Is that weird? Does that feel weird?
It does. It feels very weird to me. Out of all 4, you figure at least one of them. Like I thought, Oklahoma. See, but you go through each game, and all of these.
By the way, how about the Oklahoma City fans calling Nikola Jokic a free throw merchant?
That was great.
I was like, you have the ultimate. Like James Harden passed the torch to SGA. Like that.
Yeah. Does it not feel
Brunson
very
too.
Just like hypocritical of them?
It's crazy
the whole time, and it's just
no
like
shame.
they don't understand the joke in it. It's hilarious. But I do like that they call. I don't know. It feels like it's very European of them to call him a merchant as well. But I thought that would be the game that the home team, the most out of their, the most out of there, that would be the one they would for sure get. And it was an Aaron Gordon, 3 late to win the game for him. So you do have like somewhere it comes down to the last play like that. But like, I would argue that Indiana just kind of outplayed Cleveland in game 1 there. I mean, and it was Cleveland
game too.
Yeah, but Cleveland's just awful from out there at 3. It was the team just came in and kind of punched them in. You've broken down the Celtics. To kind of come out and start like this. I expected the home teams to have a little more pizzazz. So it has shocked me a bit that all 4 of them have gone down.
The worst home team in game 1 was Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't even crack 90 points. That was without Steph Curry on the other side. That's pretty bad. And this is where my greater point comes in. I think we are on the path towards the biggest era of parity in NBA history. And it could be changing the way the rest of, the league historically has not had a ton of parity, right? There's only 8 teams that have won a title. Every decade's had a dynasty. This is the longest we've gone without back-to-back champs in ever. But you've already had that 6-year stretch, or 7-year stretch without back-to-back champions. And now home court advantage is not guaranteed. And I mean, 10 years ago, the beginning of the Curry Warriors era, especially, that was automatic. The good teams were winning at home all the time. You were not stealing them from them. And so that's how we got, Cleveland, Golden State, 4 straight years or whatever it was. So I think we are seeing a new NBA unfolding before our eyes.
Let me devil's advocate this.
Please.
Is it actual parity or or is it just perceived parity? Because let's just back like the Oklahoma City Thunder, number 1 team in the West. The Rockets, a young team, were the 2nd seed. If you look at the way the West seeded out this year, it did look different. Even some of the teams in the East, the Pistons are back there. It does. We see teams that are starting, these young cores kind of starting to come together. But if it does fade away, there's a good chance we could still get a finals of where it's Warriors Celtics. Is that really a lot of parity there? I guess to get there, and yes, everybody losing, but the good teams are still the good teams. This might be the tail end of the Warriors. And I think Steph knows. I think I saw the quote during the Rocket series somewhere where he told Draymond when they traded for Jimmy Butler, this is our last shot. They kind of know that in a way, but it is still a team that has played there and knows how to get there and is a playoff, caliber team year in and year out, no matter who's on there.
I think your better point would have been this. There are 8 teams still alive right now.
Yeah.
Okay. 7 of them were still alive at this point last year. The only team that's not there is, of course, the Mavericks.
That's a good point,
and they are replaced by Golden State, who's been there all the time. So yes, I understand that. And this is why I've thought about it, is most years in my time rooting in the NBA, and I'll even look at the last 10 or 12 years, that was kind of the big 3 era to the Warriors to where we are now. There was usually it was 2 teams at most that we could say this team could win the title, especially all those Cleveland Golden States. It was most years it was 1. It was just Cleveland isn't going to beat Golden State. That's going to be the finals matchup. So there we go. And all the teams in the East were just also Rans. I look at this year, and I think there's definitely 3 that can win it. I would argue for a wild card for a 4th or a 5th, which I haven't felt like that in maybe ever watching the NBA. The wild cards would be Minnesota and the Knicks, and I'm not putting money down on them to win the title, but I could see a world where it happens. If the Celtics have some more injuries here, then the Knicks are playing the Pacers. The Pacers have been exciting and everything, but the Knicks could beat them.
In 2000 all of a sudden, though.
There you go. It's gonna be a rock fight between the Knicks and the Pacers. Spike Lee's gonna be there still.
Yeah, Reggie Miller's just waiting to go. Yeah,
but Boston, Cleveland, although they're not in a good spot right now, Oklahoma City, I think all can win the title. I think Golden State's got an outside shot because they have Curry when he's back, but I doubt it. But like Minnesota and New York as a wild card, I'm thinking you could put 3.5 legitimate shots for winning the NBA title this year.
You don't think that the Nuggets have a shot at it? I mean, they're not too.
Actually, that's not a bad point. That's not a bad point. I don't think they I don't think they will, but they do have the star power to do it.
They have. That's the thing.
Jokic and Murray and this new Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, it's the battle of MVPs there, in that series. But I think that it's a different style of play there because Jokic can get his points, but Jokic always still kind of feels a little bit more of a facilitator to the rest of the players there on Denver than SGA.
Best passing big man of my lifetime.
Oh, easily. I'm not going to argue you on that.
Maybe the best passing center outside of Bill Walton ever. I mean, seriously. He's that good.
Okay, I can agree with you on that then too. Yeah.
He and Bird. I mean, Bird was forward, obviously, but anyway,
do you consider Bird more of the put him at the 4 or put him at the 3?
In his era, more of a 3.
Okay.
Just because he wasn't. He wasn't a bruising guy and most power forward in those days.
But I think that
guys. Nowadays that's not the case. But
I don't think people talk about Larry Bird when they talk about big men, but then they also forget of how his height that he actually possesses. Then
it was 6'9".
Yeah. He's a big guy, but he's just not that. Anyway, more that Trevor Ariza type style.
Trevor Ariza for Shiza. If I had one comp for Larry Bird, it would definitely be Trevor Ariza. I'll say that. Shit, man.
That's just what popped up. That's what everybody said. You don't remember that? When we watched him, they called Trevor. They're like, that's the modern day Larry Bird right there.
Oh, anyway, I'm kind of fascinated by this because I think home ice advantage is going away in the NHL. And I think home court advantage is going away slowly in the NBA. Like Cleveland's a great building in the playoffs. Like that is a loud place. And Indiana just took 2 off them.
No,
Oklahoma City has been a pretty good playoff atmosphere.
I'll add this, that it is a point of Game 7 between the Rockets and Warriors. When Stan, and granted, part of this was you got to give the Warriors their due, but when Stan Van Gundy is commenting on just how into it this crowd is for Game 7,
it was weird.
And some of that is on then the teams itself. Like watching those Pistons series against the Knicks before this, I felt, even though there were empty, seats that you could see there, because it's Detroit, the atmosphere still felt, it still felt like they cared there for the people who showed up, in Detroit. But it does seem that these are places that are notoriously, harder to play. You got to come in and, struggle to, or, chip away to get wins, and the teams are pointed out. I just don't know, as you said, which was obviously the way better point to make, is that it's the same teams a year ago, except -1. But it does also just feel like at the end of the day, even when you peel it back, that it's still the same teams that are going to find a way to get there. The Thunder seem like the new fancy team, and yeah, they do have a shot to win it, but then I'm a big guy, and it feels like an old curmudgeon to say this, but until you have that experience and you're able to do it, I question it. But how do you get that experience? Well, by
doing it.
So, I come off of a team and a Rockets fan that was the number 2 team in the West, that it seemed like it looks good, but they weren't the 2T. Some of the seeding might be off, some of it might be teams play at the right time, but I will agree with you that I think there is more parity. I just don't know if it's to the point of where it can win titles, of where we're talking about, it being Indiana this year, and then maybe next year it's Oklahoma City, and then we start this run, because we are, like you said, of no back-to-backs. But
right. That's
Is it going?
That's a big first step.
Because if the Celtics win again this year, which is highly plausible, then we're back-to-back again, and then we're looking next year at, it's the same NBA, and we're
but then we're looking next year at them stripping down a team.
That's true.
Not stripping it to the studs, but you're getting rid of a couple of starters probably.
Because you talked about with potentially Jaylen Brown and all that the other day. Yeah. So is that, and this maybe creates the bigger conversation than there. Is it because of things like that? Because of how the cap works? Because of all, what they want to skirt, how, the luxury tax and all the way the NBA
in large
set
part,
up
yes.
now.
Yes.
Yeah. To where
that's
we're
what they
set
want to
up
do.
where, yeah.
And the last thing I have on kind of comparing the parity, like the parity that we see the perceived parity, the on paper parity is for the major sports is the NFL. And I know we're still in the midst of a Chiefs dynasty. We just basically got out of a Patriots dynasty for 20 years. But outside of that, like it's all built around parity. Free agency and salary caps and comp picks and all of this, that, and the other, and the draft order and all of it. No lottery. It's all built socialistically. It's supposed to be a league full of parity. And I know you can't really do this, but if you take out those two teams, you've got a ton of unique champions in my lifetime. But still, you look and it's like the Chiefs have won, 3 of the last 5 or 6 or whatever it is. And they just played the Eagles for the second time in 4 years. They play the Bills every year in the postseason. It's like it is, as we perceive, the NFL to have great parity. The NBA is looking pretty similar in its playoffs and its format and its champions and all that. So
is parity a thing that we're ever like, is there a point where we reach it where we're like, yes, this is where the league needs to be? Or is this always just going to be a talking point? Like, because do we get to a point, and do we like that then also as a league? If it's like every season we go in and we start like, it's really any of these 30 teams, have an opportunity to do that. Like, I think that obviously that's the goal, but is that actually an achievable goal? I think that you're always going to have teams like the Wizards at the bottom. Like, it's just the way that the league works.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
and I think it's something that we'll just realize after the fact.
Yeah.
Because in the late 70s, when there was 5 unique champions in a row, that was when the league was on like its last legs. Like it was really not in a good spot at all. And so not like we look back at that fondly, but I think it is something that you'll need the benefit of hindsight to be like, yeah, to your point, it's like when we were in it, we were only thinking about the Celtics and the Thunder and all this, but it changed. Like the teams we thought about changed every 2 years rather than every 4 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that? Like the Warriors were a thing for 5-6 years. They were the best team in the NBA.
Their windows are longer. In a way.
Yes. And now, you've gone from 3 years ago, let's say it was, the Bucks and the Nuggets were on the come up. Phoenix was really good. They made the finals in whatever that was against the Bucks 21. The Nets had a big 3. And now 3 years later, it's completely different, right? It's the Celtics and the Thunder and the Cavs, and the Bucks are well on their way. And the Knicks and the Nuggets are kind of still hanging on. So it may be those windows just becoming shorter, or something that we appreciate in hindsight.
Yeah, no, maybe. I think that's a good point, and it's just they are like the 4 or 5 year windows are now 2-3. You got to win while you can, like even more so than what you thought.
NBA League of Parity. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's totally free. Helps us on the path towards 4,000 subscribers. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the other videos on the channel and find us here every weekday. We'll see you tomorrow on a little ditty that we like to call The Camp Show.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internext.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Tusains, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.